Hey Kevin, how's it going?
Hey, Christine, it's good. How are you?
Good. So Kevin and I are always on the quest to find tools that make our jobs more efficient and us being more effective at work. And both of us make a lot of PowerPoint presentations. So we're really interested to learn if Copilot could help us out and kind of reduce the workload. So Kevin, I know you've been doing a deep dive into Copilot and PowerPoint. What did you find out?
Yeah, I think it's a pretty interesting tool to have in a toolbox. I think it's if you're in the Microsoft suite, it's definitely a pretty useful thing. There's a lot of cool features in it. It's just a pretty, it takes a lot of time. It gives you some ideas for content and copy and kind of outlines, things like that. One thing you want to make sure that you go back and then really be sure that you edit whatever content you're making with it and not just send it off to your client or team internally before going through and seeing what it actually says. But it's a pretty cool tool.
So if you have to have then 365, right?
Yep, a license
A
for
license
it.
for 365. What's nice
Yep,
about Copilot with this though is it's so integrated in the tool. So you're not outside and then having to bring stuff into PowerPoint. It's right there.
exactly. Exactly. It really is kind of a fully immersive situation, which is nice.
Yeah, I like that.
Um, so you can actually find it. So if you're making a deck and you want to get started making your deck, there's an option up here to make your deck. Um, I prefer to use the option down here. I just think it's a little bit more intuitive and kind of user friendly. So you can pop up here. We're going to discuss puppy toys today and kind of show you some tips and tricks on using Copilot to buy puppy toys. Um,
That's fun. But so
so
now, so with this, you can actually, one of the nice things is you don't have to start then with a blank deck.
correct.
You can actually ask it.
You can ask it too. So I didn't do that for this example, but you can do that. You can prompt it, I want 6 slides, I want 10 slides. It's going to enter audience name. I want my list to be bullets. I want my list to be in whatever format they're in, things like that. And it kind of gives you something, including images or not. You have to ask it for the images, but it will give you the images if prompted to do so.
And
So it really can kind of do the whole thing soup to nuts with very little interaction from you.
and that's kind of nice. I mean, because sometimes you're just staring, sometimes you just need ideas. Sometimes you're just staring at those blank slides. So it's nice then to at least get something and then you can modify it from there.
Exactly. And again, I think it's a really good place to kind of start and not just, again, be standing at a blank slide and analysis paralysis kicks in a little bit. And it's like, what do I do now? But you definitely want to have some kind of strategy and some kind of general thought process prior to doing it. You can also add a note, like your notes um, in the 365 environment to get started as well. But again,
Hmm.
those notes need to be somewhat cohesive and sort of understandable so that you get a quality output. Otherwise, you're going to spend a lot of time going back and fixing this or fixing that. So if you have a strong brief or otherwise just notes, you can stick them in and kind of have it prompt off that as well.
Okay. So did you create this slide then using a prompt or this slide deck?
No, I built this deck off of kind of just going through the motions of doing it, and then I
Hmm.
made various changes. And I'm going to discuss some of the various features throughout the deck, kind of using the Copilot and manual steps.
Cool.
Yeah. So to get started, so again, so we have just a plain, very generic, kind of nothing special, um, blank, cover slide here. I said, okay, that's a little boring. And then let's just text on a white background. So I asked, so when you go, so to back up 1 second, so if you to here, and then you can find Copilot here. I think again, this is the most easiest kind of location to find the tool. You can stick your prompt in here. So I'm going to ask it to make a cover slide that talks about puppy toys and treats, include puppy 101 in the copy. I like that line, so I want that there. So when you generate, which I'm not going to do today, but if you hit generate, you would get this here.
Oh, much more visually appealing cover slide.
Exactly. You have you have that and the kind of different puppies and toys and the copy that I wanted here. A guide for new pet parents, kind of engaging. Again, if it wasn't that, I didn't specify the audience for this, but you could say if it was for kids or if it was for a vet or for, whatever, right?
Hmm.
Um, you can kind of, whoops, you can kind of add that there as well. So it changed everything as well.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah. So again, just creative, it's engaging, it kind of catches your eye, the whole 9 yards. So moving on. So you want to get your puppy, you want to or will need toys. You do some kind of basic research, and again, kind of um, the, the generic kind of format offered by PowerPoint. The text is just kind of in a pretty generic kind of line, bulleted outline kind of a thing, nothing too special. The images I pulled from PowerPoint off the internet, so they're kind of just there. The one has the permission there. It's just kind of generic, right? So we want to spruce that up a little bit. So we're going to make a slide that changes that. So we're going to go back to Copilot. We're going to change the prompt here. And we're going to ask it to include these categories and a puppy chewing a toy. So that's our prompt. And we get this.
So
So
you can start, or you can ask Copilot to kind of then create your deck, or you can actually have a deck, and then what you're doing here is just actually modifying it, cleaning it up, making it look more professional. Nice.
exactly. I mean, it's just it changes the colors a little bit. It does a pretty good job of kind of blending the colors in with what you've had and kind of what the theme is.
Hmm.
As we get further along, I kind of see, how you can change colors and kind of format and things like that. So then moving on, we want to now change from, so now you have your puppy and you want to know where do you buy these puppy toys, right?
Hmm.
So kind of a little bit, the theme changed a little bit, the everything changed a little bit. It doesn't really match with the slide deck. Well, it was a suggestion from PowerPoint itself. Not great, right?
Hmm.
Um, so we're going to change this from dashes here on this list to bullet points. So we're going to get my prompts. We're going to come up to Copilot yet again. Come on, Copilot. We're going to change said prompt,
So this is then what are
and we're
you
going to
asking
ask
it to? You're asking it then to change then this slide to replace it with bullet points. Okay.
instead of a list. Yep, and we're going to go from two to so I have quite a few different kind of vendor options here in this list. We're going
Hmm.
to condense that list just a little bit as well. I also want to change the image, kind of a cute picture here, but doesn't really tell you about. It looks like it's sick. It needs to go to the vet versus toy, so I want to keep it on brand
Right.
with kind of that. So you generate the image here. I'm just going to go down here. You're going to generate the image here, and you're going to get this as your output.
Okay.
So we're going to kind of show you the toys. It kind of keeps it in the same format as slide 4, which talks
Hmm.
about the toys that you should be getting. Kind of these colored, you know, number bullets. Just kind of a cool, it's on brand. It sticks to the same theme. Kind of a good general,
Yeah, it's a good slide.
situation here. So now you want to know what things you need to avoid. So again, kind of like our cover slide, a boring, generic, black text, white background, nothing. No one's going to look at this or read it or, give it any real attention.
Hmm.
So we want to go from having kind of no creative, um, then a very kind of generic background to jazz that up a little bit. So we're going to ask it to do that. So we're going to come back to the Copilot. We're going to change our prompt. Um, and I kind of do what I just said, just now. So we're going to just go from bullet points. We're going to show what not to have, and we're going to get to this. Now, I really like this slide here because if you can see the red X's, it
Hmm.
kind of makes it obvious what you shouldn't have. It also took my list of um, do not items or dangerous items and kind of generated this image based on that copy itself.
Yeah, it's kind of
So you
amazing
can
what it can do right there. It's so really makes your slides so much more cohesive and so much more professional looking
Exactly. It
without
really
you
kind of
having to
keeps,
go and line everything up and add all the copy and format it. It's kind of there. It's formatted for you.
yeah. And one thing kind of, to speak on too. So let's say you want to remove this M dash here. You can come up here, you can hit this, you can just backspace until you're formatting and change it there. So you can change the elements, the format, the any
Hmm.
grammar issues in the slide itself, or you can prompt Copilot to make those changes as needed. I personally would recommend going through and actually saying, I want to change the copy to X, Y, and Z. A, it makes you read it again and make sure that you're
Hmm.
kind of sticking to your brand guidelines or your point in that the language is cohesive and what you're wanting, not just what it's going to give you.
Hmm.
Um, so again, you can prompt it, but I would recommend going through and doing it by hand, at least to start anyway. Maybe once really you master your prompting, you can do that, but it's good to go through anyway and look at it anyway. So now we're going to go talk about some FAQs. So I wanted to slide here. So this was generated, and I had to just ask for a list of FAQs. It gave me four, right? Not a
Yep.
super comprehensive list. Um, I kind of thought the question and answers were kind of generic, not super useful. So I wanted to go and change that. So I prompted to get this here. I can show you the prompt if you'd like. So I exit to go from 4 to 6. And here's my prompt so you guys can see.
Okay.
So create an FAQ slide that is in a list format, show 6 questions and answers,
Nice.
right? I then, once this became populated, I then exit to change the colors to match the brand theme or the deck theme to be orange and yellow. As you see in slide 9, it has orange and yellow here, but then it kind of just has ugly green and purple, which I didn't love. So I want to kind of keep that more cohesive a little bit. Um, and that was just kind of in testing. I would, you can stick your brand guidelines in PowerPoint and kind of work off that. But for this summer, we didn't have that. Um, but I think just from a visual standpoint, this looked nicer.
Hmm. So, what's your overall opinion? So, you've been experimenting with the several of PowerPoint or slide deck generators, some more automated than not, some more integrated than not. What do you think of Copilot and PowerPoint? Where does it rank for you?
I would give Copilot and PowerPoint a pretty good score. I would probably prefer it over some of the other ones out on
Hmm.
the market currently. I think I grew up in high school and college and then working kind of in Microsoft 365, generally speaking, or largely. So I kind of really, the ecosystem pretty well. And I think it's just very integrated and everything's kind of there. And it's just a very easy, intuitive user face. I also think it gives you a lot of options. It does take a long time to generate content off the prompt. Um, but I think it gives you pretty quality output to actually also sometimes ask you questions. Do you want to do X, Y, and Z? Or do you want to, this is what I could give you. Can you elaborate more on this or that? Some of the other products on the market don't do that and they just output something and it's really not what maybe you wanted. So this kind of allows for some kind of conversation back and forth a little bit, which is super useful.
Yeah, I really like
Um,
that I think I like that it's integrated. I mean, I think that that's really, I don't have to get a separate product. It's already there. I can use it
right.
right there. I can change one slide. I can change multiple slides. I don't, I have a little, I feel a little more control about some of the other products I know we looked at. It seemed like once you gave your prompt, then you didn't really have a whole lot of control what you could change or where you could export it to or how it exported. So I like that this is right in that 365 ecosystem.
Exactly. You can if you're on a team account, you can share it with a team member quickly. You can export it, as a PDF, as a PowerPoint. There's so many different things. You can have speaker notes in this, and then you can actually prompt to add your speaker notes to a Word document if you want.
And
Um,
and did you say you could generate this from an outline you were talking before?
you can. So if you come to Copilot here, and you click this plus button over here, you can add a Word content or you can add an image. as
Oh,
needed.
okay.
So again, it kind of you're giving it more of what you want, and it gives it a a higher quality output. Some of the other products on the market, you have to have a various kind of tier paid option for the tool
Mm-hmm.
um, to import any files internally and things like that. So it just adds to the cost. It doesn't always give it the output. Sometimes the security is a little bit questionable. So the fact that again everything's integrated and into one ecosystem is a really good thing.
No, I like it. It's good. Well, thank you,
One
Kevin.
thing
Oh, go
one
on.
thing just to keep in mind too. So if you do create an image off of Copilot legally, you want to just be aware that the image can only be used within Microsoft. So I wouldn't take those images and then put them in your newsletter or things like that. You want to kind of keep it insular to uh, your team and your team account.
Good, good reminder. Well, thank you, Kevin. That was an interesting, I like it, interesting demo. Thank you. And has some really good features. So let's continue looking on other ones. But so far, this is our winner so far,
Absolutely, hands down.
hands down. All right, have a
Thanks,
good
Christine.
one. Bye.
Bye.